Peace, Natural Market. How you doing? Peace, Pandora. On the quest to be the best. Right on. Pandora, are you a moderator for Big Judah? I saw somebody on, I don't know if you know who Big Judah is, but I saw a Pandora Croom pop up on in his live the other day. Oh, okay, okay. Right on. Big Judah be going off. Um, Sometimes I be wanting to chime in on some of the stuff when he's talking about the astrology, but uh, so yeah, I'm on here trying to get in. No, I'm not trying. I am doing it. Getting in some cardio to start the day off. Got a late start, and I guess what prompted this video is I'm driving down the street to take my children to school, and just got discombobulated and ended up turned the one street too early. And in doing so, yeah, thank you for hitting the like button. Y'all come on in and feel free to hit that like button. Let's try to organically overcome the inorganic forces. So yeah, I'm going down the street, turn the wrong way, and end up getting caught in some other school traffic for another school. Then the children start bugging. Daddy, we can't be late. I said, look, you're not going to be late. And it started making me think, man, what's happening in the sky? I said, and I remember, well, Mercury's direct, so it should be almost time for Mercury to make its re-ingress into Aries. Ingress just means to cross the threshold, walk in the door. So Mercury had been retrograde. Mercury stationed retrograde at 9 degrees of Aries. And it moved back to, let's see, how far did it go back? It moved all the way back to 24 to 26 degrees of Pisces. That's where it turned direct. So I thought, maybe it's something. Mercury is at 29 degrees, or it's right there in Aries. The challenge with this particular Mercury placement, Mercury in Aries is pretty sharp. It's the epitome of a sharp tongue. There's a sharp-mindedness with Mercury in Aries. There's a quick wit, because Aries is a very fast energy. And Mercury deals with our wits, our smarts, our ability to learn. And it's communication, the three C's: communication, commerce, and commuting. So Mercury's rapid moving in Aries. Peace, poise and polish. What I experienced this morning was a great display of astrological, and if you just go along and you study astrology, you'll see just those simple things happening through and around you are always giving you astrological lessons to help you actually learn astrology at a deeper level. So my neighbor just came out. Anything that? But I think my voice carry. I didn't mean for that to come out that loud. So why, if Mercury she's on the phone, everything they say sounds angry. But Mercury in Aries is sharp. So why wouldn't it be sharp? Why would I felt like I was in a mist or a cloud this morning, and the children just trying to get them going? And it is because although Mercury is in Aries, it is conjoining Neptune. So in essence, poetic, peace, poetic heart. Yes, Pandora. Yeah, I'll make you a mod because I'm just thinking if I mess with the screen right now, I'll knock this thing over. But so although Mercury's in Aries, it is if we're having an extended period of it being in its fall or detriment. Some people consider Mercury and Pisces to be in fall, and some just call it detriment. Either way, it's debilitated in Pisces. So even though it's in Aries now, which Mercury does well in Aries, it's still, things aren't quite clear yet. The details are not quite coming into picture just yet. Now we may have a vision. We may have something that we have foreseen or envisioned or imagined, but the direct path may still be a little fuzzy. And that is because, one, by modern standards, Mercury is still in its shadow. Now, your purist astrologers, your hardcore traditional astrologers will say that the concept of a shadow is a joke. That's something that was made up and it may have been the 70s. It may have been somewhere around the time that Chiron was introduced, which I know for sure is 77 because that's my birth year, so that always stands out. But I think that Mercury shadow, or that planetary shadow consideration, was incorporated into astrological delineation, I want to say in the 70s as well. And one thing that's difficult with determining the validity of something is the quantum aspect, as in, one astrologer can say it's a bunch of garbage because they are observing the phenomenon from a particular perspective. Another astrologer will argue that it is a real effective thing that should be taken into consideration. And it's because they are looking at it from another perspective. Question is each person seeing the reality based on the perspective they already have? And I think that's why there's a quantum, definitely is a quantum nature to the study and practice of astrology, because there's a quantum nature to everything, which in essence means there are some rules in astrology that you should hard and fast hold to. And then there are some things where you really shouldn't get locked into debates. At least I wouldn't. I'm not going to debate with anybody over the house system they choose. Because how can I tell someone if they've witnessed how a particular house system has played out in their life? Like they can track events in their life and correlate those events to placements in their chart based on the house system they use. How can I argue against them? You know, but even with their experience, how can they still argue against someone else's usage? Because it's all quantum. Everything's existing at one time. It's just like Kabbalah. It's who's the definitive person on Kabbalah when the thing means reception. It's about how you receive it. Now, there are some hard and fast principles, I guess, but ultimately, it all comes down to how you receive it. Peace, pink pedal. So I said all that to say that just as a precursor to, just the idea that not everyone will even see the validity of considering the shadow. I do. I do. Because of an experience. And I think for me, I feel even more valid in saying that because I'm a natural curmudgeon. I'm naturally go against what I'm told to do and what everybody says. Meaning I have to come to a conclusion for myself. Because the idea of just being a follower just makes me sick to my stomach. So that means when I first heard about a shadow, it's like, one, it was too it was too high above my understanding at the time. Because I was just trying to get the basics. When you first learn astrology, you're trying to learn the keyword associations, just like tarot. You're trying to learn what words go with this. Because you have to approach it the same way like you're learning your ABCs. You need the basics. What is a triplicity? What is a quadruplicity? What does this house mean? What does that house? Like the basics. So at that time, you're not trying to consider what's the shadow and, uh, and all these other different nuances and techniques. Like, I'm just trying to get the basics. But then when I started experiencing things, then you look and go back and revisit. Like Idris Shah said, wisdom is when you know what previously you only, it's when you, wisdom is when you understand what previously you only knew. So until you experience these things, you don't really understand them. It's just rote information and knowledge. But at the same time, you still have to try to be scientific in that You leave an openness to maybe this shit ain't even real. Maybe, and so that you're not, when you come to a realization, you feel like it's a real discovery personally for you. No matter what somebody else knows for them, it doesn't matter. It's how does that become personalized for you? Peace, Straight Panther. And that's what it comes down to. So today, with Mercury at 0 Aries in a conjunction with Neptune, Mercury is still picking up Pisces energy, and it is still in its shadow. It has 9 degrees to climb before it leaves or exits its shadow. So, what is the shadow? The shadow is the point it starts at the time a planet is retrograde, or turns retrograde. And it extends all the way to the degree that the planet will stop at and station direct. So in this case, the shadow bounds would be from 9 degrees of Aries back to 26 degrees of Pisces. So that in theory, we are still gathering the essence, the fruits of Mercury's perceived, apparent travel backwards in the zodiac, which we know it does not actually do that, but it appears as though planets move backwards. So we're going over what data was collected. And this data is very mystical. It's very, it's uh it's a fused energy. It is a tapestry. It's not something that can easily be congealed because of the space that Mercury moves through, because it was in Pisces. And it was basically, it's been in a conjunction with Neptune the whole time. It's just that now it's exact. Here's the thing though. When the planet stations retrograde, we're going back over things. That's why we don't rush to initiate things during retrograde, because it is a time for revisiting, putting things in order. Then when the planet moves direct, you are going back over the same terrain that has been crossed in retrograde motion. So now you should be coming out with a greater degree of clarity around the areas of your life that are associated with the signs that were moved through. So the areas of your life would mean, where is Pisces in your chart? What house is it in? Where is Aries in your chart? Right? So you're going back over these things, you're getting things in order. So the position we're in right now, relative to Mercury's retrograde and direct motion, is we're on the upside, right? We've gone through this area, we've turned around and gone backwards through this area. Now we're coming back through a third time, and we all have some learning that has occurred, you know, and as we go through these 9 degrees, and as Mercury hits 10 degrees of Aries, then we ought to start seeing a more sharper, focused Mercury because it has kind of dried off, the water. It has separated from Neptune and it has left its shadow, right? Um, so this is um, a favorable thing because we need to have a sharp mind given, like we talked about last night, the climate that we're in. Now, this trip that Mercury has made into Pisces, into the netherworld, should have given us a creative boost. When a planet is debilitated, it's an opportunity to utilize the right side of your brain because things are not working in a linear fashion relative to how, and we mean linear as in a planet has a certain way of expressing when it is in certain space. But when you put it in a space that is the antithesis of its most powerful expression, then it is almost inviting a degree of chaos. And that makes us look at things from a shifted perspective. So if Mercury does not like being in Pisces, then it's an opportunity for us to learn how to hold our breath underwater. It's an opportunity to learn how to think creatively and to go into the pool of limitless possibility and to extract something. And maybe we're not even completely clear what all was extracted while Mercury was in its retrograde and in Pisces because Mercury is still drying off. And possibly what we'll see as it hits 10 degrees, which will be next Sunday after next. So Sunday, the 27th, Sunday the 27th, Mercury hits 10 degrees Aries as the sun is making, has made its ingress into the sign of Taurus. And another thing to keep in mind is that Mercury will be, it's already past that, my fault. Where's the sun? And whenever there's a retrograde, what happens is Mercury falls behind the sun. So they have a conjunction coming. Of course, that won't be until probably May when when Mercury conjoins the sun and will be in the heart of the sun. But we'll cross that bridge later on. So Mercury's at 10, it'll clear its shadow. Let's see what else we got going. Tomorrow, where's Venus? Venus should be conjoining Saturn tomorrow at 25 degrees of Pisces. So you can kind of see how this is playing out. Saturn places things in order. Saturn and Venus together have an opportunity to do something substantial because these two energies meet at a certain point. They have a common ground that they meet at. And that meeting is around the word beauty. And you normally wouldn't think of beauty when you describe Saturn, but you'll think of order. Well, beauty, harmony, and order all derive from the same linguistic basic family. For there to be order, there to be beauty. For there to be beauty is to be harmony. So there's a chance to organize things and to organize the um, the fixation with beauty that Venus has when it is exalted in Pisces. Venus is just swept up into the energy of, but uh, it's indulgence, because you got to think Pisces traditionally is Jupiter's um, female rulership. So there's this swelling of indulgence and the love, the intoxication of love, and that also can denote creativity. But Venus and Pisces can put on the rose-colored glasses and can also find itself in a toxic environment because of the inability to see things for what they are. And this is the beauty of Saturn being here to say, hey, let's let's uh let's cross our T's and dot our I's. And let's think about what's necessary to make this dream a reality. Saturn deals with reality. So if you couple that with the fact that while they are harmonizing, that Mercury is separating from Neptune, what we should be able to see as the month of April wraps up is that we should personally be able to experience more clarity, more clarity. And it couldn't come any sooner, um, because we've already talked about things that will be happening with Uranus approaching that 26th degree, and from 26 all the way up to its ingress into Gemini in July. That there's the intensity is ratcheting up in the US. And Uranus moving through the sixth house of the US chart. Sixth house is day-to-day activities. So this day-to-day life may become more volatile. Sixth house is also health. So what does that mean? Collectively, sixth house deals with work. What happens in the job market? We don't know. So it would behoove us on a personal level to be able to utilize the magic that Saturn holds. The magic of Saturn is that hind legs, or the hind portion, is a fish, and the front portion is the goat. So there's something, although Saturn and Pisces can bring out a lot of worry, and a lot of frustration around feeling like it's difficult to establish firm footing. From a metaphysical perspective, though, as it comes out of the water, it has something that allows it to transition to dry land. And you think about dry land, those are earth signs. And earth signs are about things coming into crystallization, the reality. Because as much as we talk about air, we don't live in the air. As much as we talk about water, we don't live on or in the water. And we definitely don't live in fire. Now, they are part of our makeup. But what we know for sure is that earth deals with tangibility, things that we can see and touch, solidity. Earth energy is the show me state. Don't talk me to death. Earth energy is about results. So there's something with Saturn having the goat legs on the front that denotes an ability to make something solidify. And maybe the challenge of Saturn's traverse through Pisces has been the ability to overcome our own minds. Saturn, hidden enemies. Hidden enemy many times is just us. Just us. It's not Pisces 12th house energy also associated with self undoing. So the possibility that I'm actually being counterproductive, I'm working against myself. The magic of Saturn in many ways is it's in the subtle. It's endurance is magical. If you can endure, um, I can get my heart rate up enough to even, which that's a good thing. It's good to be talking, exercising, and you still didn't. Uh, but the ability to endure is um, is magical in itself because magic means power. I always like to come back to that. Magic means power, and Saturn develops power through the test of time. So we have progressively increasing tests, and they're going to continue to increase, but we will also, through this, become into greater realization of personal, and through personal power, we will experience greater collective power. Because we can't focus on we. That's for French speaking people. We. We must begin with the seed. You can't focus on a relationship if you don't begin with the I, with the I am, because the relationship is the result of I ams coming together to form a we are. There can't be a we are without a strong sense of who I am. Um, so that's the power is in that. And as we do that, we collectively, organically develop something. Um, but Saturn is the tester of through time, through difficulty, through struggle. Saturn deals with the development of muscle because we build muscle through tension and time under tension. Um, so here you got Venus joining up with Saturn, and even though it's a malefic energy, and Mars is a malefic, they're harmonizing as Mars is uh, making its preparing to make its re-ingress into Leo. But for the time being, when Saturn and Mars harmonized, you can look at it as things may not just magically be easy, but what we can glean from their harmony is sustained effort. When Saturn and Mars harmonize, they're in a trine or sextile, then it's a great, even a conjunction, because if we're starting something with Saturn conjoining Mars, it may seem difficult. You may seem like there are roadblocks, but those roadblocks are giving Mars the knowledge of how to develop sustained effort. Mars is not an energy that's about sustaining. Mars is about exhaustion of energy because it wants to go forward. So when it's in a trine or sextile to Saturn, then there's staying power. There's staying power. Um, but yeah, that's the basic energy I want to talk about. This Mercury in Aries that is not behaving like Mercury in Aries. So we still gotta be careful in how we're moving, um, remain methodical, because the thing is, you might get caught in the Aryan Martian energy of wanting to move faster when Mercury is still conjoining Neptune and doesn't have the proprioception, does not have the nervous system is not firing at its normal rate, and it may not be as safe to try to move faster. So we need to honor the fact that Mercury is not ready to be its normal rapid moving self yet. It could be it could be detrimental. Peace, always have strength. Oh, Carlos said, okay, peace, Carlos. So I guess he already took off. But yeah, but think about all the ideas you've been having, or revelations you've had, or downloads you've had over the past, just through this year, basically, because we're still in the early parts of the year, or I guess the past couple of weeks, month or so, whatever this time has been with Mercury moving, which is normally what, a 3 week phase of its direct motion, retrograde, and then direct again. So think about that, and now think about, keep in mind what we talked about with the previous full moon, that it placed an emphasis on Capricorn, because the luminary axis was Libra Aries, with Mars providing the T square through Cancer, which placed the emphasis on Capricorn. So so Capricorn again is us getting ourselves in order, self governance, self governance. So this is a great time to really be, one, I've been really emphasizing, when in doubt, create, right? Well, if you've already been creating or feeling very creative, then maximize on your creativity by organizing. And this is, you don't want to give up your left brain to use your right. What we're looking to achieve is how to use both sides. Because I always say this, I know an artist, right brain is wide open, but his left brain is just, you know, and how to be able to jump back and forth as needed. There are no vestigial parts in us that just have have no value. Everything you have is a value, or you wouldn't have it. So don't join the church of right brainedness to where the left brain becomes the devil. No, the left brain is just what has been dominating. So now we need to subdue some of it and allow the right brain more expression and figure out how to marry the two. And I think that's a lot of what all these energies are presenting, the opportunity to marry these energies. As you come in, do me a solid and hit the like button for me, please. Let's I need the organic help to go against the inorganic whatevers. Um, the opportunity and the task ahead is self-governance, self-realization of power, because you need that in order for people to be able to work together. Because you can't have partnerships, relationship based on, well, I'm just going to be a liability. I appreciate that, Straight Panther. You don't be a liability. If your money's not right, find other ways to where you can be an asset. You know, learn how to fix things. You know, learn how to tinker. You know, if you're a man, get you a tool set. You know, um, you might have to learn how to change a diaper. Woman may have to, you know, step up your cooking some more. You know, or whatever. But the idea of development, when I put all this emphasis on personal development, it is not from the standpoint of being averse to working with people and this and that. It's quite the opposite. I think we need to make sure, I need to know who I am and why I have what I have a value. And if I don't know who I am and what I have a value, then I'm not valuable to anybody else. I'm a liability because I'm waiting on somebody to define me. And if you're waiting on somebody to define you, you're no good to anybody because your value's coming through the story they give you about you. So they can't really depend on you for any strength if something goes haywire because you're not standing on nothing. So we need to internally and try to figure and give serious consideration and concentration to how do I develop, like, what is my power? What is my superpower? When I give readings, I try to tell people, I try to leave a segment where I say, here are some of them. And many times our superpowers are lying dormant because we need a certain degree of pressure to come in and hard aspects. They come in because they are applying pressure to hopefully force greater realization of one's own power. And if you're in a space where you're having difficulty realizing your power, then it would benefit you to come and get a reading. It's an investment. It's an investment in you and an investment in your future. You know, we blow money on all types of stuff. You know, you drop $100 at the movies like it ain't nothing. You know, so invest something in yourself, getting to understand yourself better. And if you are having, let me tell you a secret about money woes. You having, what is money? Currency, right? We call it money, but it's currency, right? So one way to generate currency is to move the current. Sometimes for me to generate currency, I have to find a way to spend some money because it's energy. And if you become so scared or fixated, then you're freezing the energy. So sometimes I'll go and some new some technique that I'm really become interested in. Sometimes people contact you for things, and you're like, I can't do that. I don't do primary direction. I don't do solar arcs. It's a lot of things I don't know as an astrologist. Like I don't know yet. I'm not proficient at it. And so sometimes and I'll go and get some books and just sit and start contemplating. And then I'll start experimenting, looking at my experience. Then I look at my family. Then I'll start talking to some of my friends and some of my comrades. And that's how I get my initial data. And then I might say, okay, now I can add this to my chart delineation, which expands my opportunity to make more money. But if I go out and invest something in the craft, and as I'm gaining more knowledge, sometimes what happens, you get people booking for things that ain't even related to what you're studying. It's just that you created the energy of flow because you put yourself in a position to receive because you put yourself in motion. So sometimes you just need to move. You need to move something, move the energy. And a great way to move it, if you are um, looking to discover more about yourself and your journey, then astrology is it is a merciful tool because you can be going through all types of hell, but the ability to look at the hour, to look at the clock and see what hour it is mercy and it is grace because it can help you understand what's worse than going through pain and suffering is to not have any understanding. All right, so there goes the phone calls beginning. So all right, that's all I got for today. I appreciate you liking the video, sharing the my videos, subscribing to the channel, and if you need any astrological services, or if you just want to expand your knowledge through learning, I have all types of tools and readings available. 720astrology.com. Know the stars to know yourself. Peace.